Well, hello, everyone. My name is Christy Cobb. I serve as the Director of New District Engagement at Project Lead the Way, supporting schools and districts with PLTW implementation plans. And I would like to welcome you to Transformative Learning, a PLTW Launch in Action. Today, we welcome educators across the country to discover ways that PLTW can provide an exceptional learning experience for students and to share how to make programs possible through various funding opportunities. Before we begin, I'll share just a few tips on how to maximize our time together. We have several PLTW team members joining us today to moderate the Q&A in the chat box and any of the questions that you may ask. Please join the conversation, share your story, and ask questions by engaging with fellow participants and subject matter experts. If you have questions, please submit them through the Zoom chat. But don't worry if we aren't able to answer your question live today. We'll follow up after the webinar with additional information and answers. I also encourage you to use the chat area to message about the content and network with other attendees. And thank you to all of those who have already started using our chat area. And also, I want to welcome you to take our next steps survey, and it'll be at the very end of the webinar. But let's first check out our agenda. Today, we'll provide a brief overview of PLTW, Project Lead the Way launch, and explore how it benefits you and your students. You'll hear directly from students about their experiences with PLTW launch. And following that, a panel of teachers and administrators will discuss their successes as well as how they have implemented and funded their PLTW launch programs. Next, we'll also give you a glimpse of what it's like to be a part of a PLTW launch classroom. We'll also cover the next steps for implementation and various funding options available for schools and districts, so you can still get started with this school year if you really choose to. And finally, we'll wrap up by addressing any of your questions that may be lingering at the very end that are not answered in that Zoom chat area. But let's get started. Let me share first a little bit about our curriculum. You know better than anyone what students need. PLTW Launch is a pre-K through 5 science and STEM curriculum that delivers a learning experience and the training that teachers want. Because it is created by teachers and led by educators, it fosters curiosity, enables a wider variety of students to shine, and builds cross-disciplinary skills. We hear these stories, and we also hear that it reinvigorates educators with a refreshed approach and flexible structure. So how does this all even happen, right? The design and content of the PLTW Launch program empowers all students with in-demand and transportable skills, such as problem solving, communication, collaboration, critical and creative thinking, one of my faves, and ethical reasoning, and which are foundational to thriving in and out of the classroom. The 42 pre-K through 5 modules embedded and address standards, including Common Core state standards in ELA and math, and CSTA K through 12 computer science standards. PLTW Launch also provides full coverage of next generation science standards and was designed to intentionally connect to NGSS. PLTW Launch also reinforces literacy and language acquisition, which is critical in early grades and supports learned math skills and practices through applications set at the appropriate grade level. Students will be able to practice math and ELA in engaging ways, build confidence, and experience the answers to their own question: why do I need to learn this? And the program offers flexible and scalable implementation that meets schools' particular needs, with many schools being able to implement even within this current school year. We know that early and equitable access to engaging hands-on content reinforces a language development through authentic learning. So PLTW Launch supports this critical literacy and language acquisition in many ways. They do it through story structure and expository text, through plot and analysis of main ideas and key details, Also, PLTW Launch logs create experience-based opportunities for nonfiction writing and vocabulary development connected to each of the activities, projects, and problems. And to expand access to even more students, PLTW Launch is provided in a Spanish language version. This includes curriculum, teachers' guides, and even media provided in Spanish, which helps remove language barriers and supports language acquisition. The Spanish version of all of the modules is included at no additional investment by schools, and you can locate that inside your My PLTW accounts. In addition to literacy and language acquisition support, PLTW Launch also includes the integration of math in application. This provides opportunities for students to develop and reinforce math skills in context while seeing connections across multiple curriculum areas. In this example that you're seeing on your screen, you can see that kindergarten students have the opportunity to practice counting, writing numbers, and placing them on a number line after completing the project, which supports counting and cardinal standards. And now more than ever, schools are placing a larger emphasis on the social and emotional learning needs of students, and PLTW Launch helps you support your students in that initiative. Without going through the entire SEL wheel, just one great example of this is the social awareness component. In PLTW Launch classrooms, students are consistently working in small groups, settings, collaborating with peers, and providing feedback to meet the needs of others while showing respect. And you'll hear a little bit about how this happens in action when we get to our panel, because it's super exciting. So PLTW Launch modules, you see them there on the screen, support pathways in biomedical science, computer science, and engineering. Designed to meet your science learning needs, the curriculum also supports best practices in science education, ensuring an unmatched experience by combining three-dimensional learning, our unique problem-based instructional approach, and real-world applied learning. And to prepare your educators to lead the learning and build their confidence in subject areas, we provide professional development. PLTW core training is designed to create dynamic learning experiences for educators through powerful and flexible instructional support, as well as an ongoing professional community. Teachers take on the role of student and engage in an in-depth exploration of PLTW coursework and gain invaluable experience to take back to the classrooms. PLTW Launch professional development builds confidence and comfort in teaching critical, but often unfamiliar topics. Additionally, PLTW provides additional learning opportunities through the initial training with professional development suites, gives all the pre-K through 12 educators additional instructional and skill-based trainings to continue building student success. Well, now that we've provided a big picture overview of the PLTW Launch program, we want you to hear directly from some of our students. We were able to interview students from a school in Indianapolis, Indiana, about their PLTW Launch experience. While watching the interviews, keep an eye out for the transportable skills that these students possess.
I like to imagine myself as a scientist, and I'm pretty sure a couple of the kids in our class might become scientists one day due to her class, because we learn a lot of cool things. Well, when I first got into her class, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. And then when I kept doing it by steps, I liked it, and then that made me encouraged to join robotics.
This particular class is a lot more fun. We try more things a lot more often, and I like that about this class.
Actually, I like robotics because she has robotics in her class. Building for me is really fun. We don't do building in my other classes.
That class is different because you can explore more things.
Currently, we're using the microscopes and seeing diseases, different colors, different shapes. I think that's the coolest part about them.
It's like you can imagine your own self in your little scientist world.
I was thinking about the stuff that we do helped me learn stuff. I realized that I probably want to help people.
I just really like that we're just trying new things and building a bunch of different things.
When I feel Miss Chloe always encourages us to do better. You could learn from your mistakes. Even if we fail, she always just have your mind on the positive stuff. Okay, that's just the life of a scientist. When you fail, you keep going.
It's great. Just perfectly great.
It's always so inspirational to see our youngest kiddos talk about their experiences in the classroom, and it really grounds you, makes you want to go right there. Just know that this is just a small sample of the variety of stories of impact we continuously hear from students, and we're happy they could share their stories, and we thank them for their time so you could hear them today as well. And I also want to go ahead and give a thank you to our panelists for being here to share their stories. I want to briefly introduce all of you, and then we'll dive into our questions. So first up, we have Tiffany Shaw. She is the technology specialist at Tusky Valley Local School District in Ohio. Then we have Cheryl Lacey, a STEM curriculum coordinator from Memphis, Tennessee, and Whitehaven Elementary. Next up, we have Caitlin, our engineering coordinator from the Toyton Academy of Pre-Engineering in Greeley, Colorado. And finally, but definitely not least, we have Kimberly, the Director of Human Resources at Rosenwald Elementary School in Society Hill, South Carolina. I thank you all for joining us today, and I'll have us jump right into our panel discussion by looking at our first question and really thinking about what was that initial motivation for bringing PLTW Launch to your school or your district, and what problem might you have been solving for when that was happening? I'll actually start off with you, Tiffany, and then we can kind of bounce to next one.
Sure, yes. So for us at Tusky Valley, we had a science issue. We were just doing science, paper and pencil, and we know that obviously that is not best practice. And so we wanted to make science engaging again. But we also loved this piece of being able to embed literacy through it. So for us with Launch, we were able to, kill two birds with one stone, so to speak, because we were able to, utilize Launch because they're aligned to the next gen science standards. So we were able to utilize it for our core science curriculum, making it engaging, but then also bringing in that literacy piece as well.
Let's jump to Kimberly next. You're right there on my screen.
Yes, well, at our school at Rosenwald, we had dabbled for some years, I'd say quite a few years, in the area of STEM. And we finally got permission from the school district to be called STEAM Immersion School. At the same time, we had tried so many other models of STEM, lessons here, pieces there, and nothing was wrong with those, but none of those, such as NASA, we were piecing, lessons together. And at that time, our school was a K-8 school. And so when I happened upon Project Lead the Way, what Project Lead the Way did was it gave us a comprehensive curriculum and a rigorous curriculum, which we were in search of to help our children to have some great experiences in the area of problem solving, real world applications, teaching them, what we consider transportable and transferable skills, the 21st century skills. And so it's just a total package. It has been, it continues to be.
Caitlin, you're next on my screen for this first question.
All right. So ours is a little different. We are a brand new building. This is our third year being open. We are a preschool through eighth grade campus, and the community voted that they wanted a pre-engineering focus. So I mean, the no-brainer choice was to implement Project Lead the Way. So we have that for our K-5 teachers in science, and then we have for 6, 7, 8 it as an elective, different modules. The real choice was not only that we didn't have pre-engineering anywhere else in the district, but that we are a college and career focused. That's our mission for our district. So it really helped with those 21st century skills that Kimberly mentioned, and the hands-on collaboration and the real world connections. So that was our choice.
Love it. And then Cheryl.
Yes, when I arrived at Whitehaven Elementary STEM School, West was already a Project Lead the Way school, and I came the year before the pandemic. And Principal Elliott has a passion towards STEM, and he was looking for a foundation, a framework that he could use to start building the STEM program here at Whitehaven Elementary. And he decided to go with then President Barack Obama's presidentially acclaimed Project Lead the Way.
Thank you so much. We just love hearing about how implementation starts and the variety of different ways that they are brought into schools. We know that not all of them are identical. Some can be similar reasons why, but it's always very interesting and very inspiring for other schools and leaders to hear how PLTW is being implemented. Let's continue in that same thought and thinking about once that your program was implemented, what has been the impact of PLTW Launch on your students and even your teachers as well? Tiffany, I'll start with you, and then Cheryl, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to follow up with that as well.
Okay, yes. So what has been such an impact with our kids is just being able to, and I know we've kind of alluded to it already with the panel, is just increasing the problem solving skills, the critical thinking skills, the collaboration. That really has been key for our students. For us at Tuskegee Valley, we had a very robust high school program and gateway program, but at the elementary, that's where we really needed to increase those skills. And so what I love about Launch is the curriculum is designed to develop critical thinking and problem solving skills by really just providing real world challenges. And so they're learning to think critically, analytically, persist through challenges, just right out of the gate. So I personally love that. And of course, built into it is that just vein of collaboration. So they're collaborating, all through the curriculum. And then in terms of our teachers, what has been so nice about it for teachers is that it's done for them. Not to say that they can't, add their own twist to it and things like that. But what I love is that teachers are so stressed, right? And so to add one more thing to their plate can be a lot. And so with Launch, everything is included, even including down to the supply kit. Before, if we wanted to do something science, right, we were doing the worksheet, but if we wanted to do something hands-on, it was teachers having to go and find all of the supplies and make it theirs. But with Launch, there is a supply kit for every single module. And so the teachers aren't going to have to search and piece together for the projects or the problem. It's all there and done for them. So I know personally, our teachers really appreciate that it's a hands-on way for our students to learn. They're collaborating, they're building up those critical thinking skills, but at the same time, the teachers don't have to go out and do it. It's done for them.
Yeah, so for our students, refer back to the video interviews that you just seen of the children. For them, they're doing something different other than the math, the ELA, the district mandated coursework that they have to participate in. And with Project Lead the Way, it gives them the opportunity to think outside the box with their framework and engage in real world PBLs, which they can make their own connections to and come up with, valuable ideas and solutions to the PBL projects and problems that are in the module. For myself, it has given me the opportunity to engage the students in experiences that they didn't or wouldn't normally have the opportunity to engage in. At Whitehaven Elementary, we try to give the students as many experiences as possible with STEM careers. And I always try to find a STEM career connection that is aligned with the module. So it gives me the opportunity also to build our STEM community partners, because the different modules that I'm implementing throughout the year, that's just bringing more STEM career and STEM community partners into our school to give our students that extra experience that they wouldn't normally get.
Thank you so much, ladies, for indulging us and just thinking about the ways not only this program truly inspires and changes things for our students, but how it really changes the ways that our teachers are interacting not only with the curriculum, but how they're transforming their classrooms as well, and making it a lovable environment for all, right? And in an easy way too, to kind of like give off to Tiffany, everything's kind of there for you, right? I'm actually going to go a little bit out of order. I'm going to go to this next question, and Kimberly and Caitlin, I'd love for you guys to kind of answer this for me. What feedback have you guys received from parents about the learning that's happened with PLTW? Caitlin, I'll start with you, and then Kimberly.
Sorry, I had to find my mute button. Yeah, the feedback that I've received from parents has been outstanding. Number one, just a lot of my child loves to come to school again. My child is learning these problem-solving skills that they're applying at home with their siblings, or when they can't, get something accomplished. And then how they're having the aha moments of finding, oh, that's why I need to know this math in the future, or, it's important to know how to read and be successful with that. We do every March a family and art engineering night where they come in and we have module exhibits of hands-on stuff that the students have been learning, as well as art exhibits. And the parents come in and get to actually like hands-on see what their kids are doing, what they've done, what maybe the year before, and what they might do the next year. So the feedback from that has been really great. Just they're hearing about all these projects that students get to build, and how that's not typically the norm of, an everyday elementary school. And so it's nice for them to see that they are, getting to do those, getting to learn those life skills, getting to be more college and career ready, and make connections to all those STEM careers as well.
Thanks, Caitlin. Kimberly, what's going on with the parent feedback in Society Hill?
I know, honestly, when we had the rollout, we invited community members, district staff, as well as our parents, and we had a huge open house. And so they were just hearing about it. And then I did a YouTube and, just pushed out as much media as we could about what we were doing. Then we started to, we reinstated our science fair project school-wide. And so the children, and also I think some of you may know this and others not, but we instituted what's called learning tracks. So the children are choosing, I want to be a scholar. I want to be on the computer programmer track. I want to be a scientist. And they're all being taught this. So here's the thing. It's not as much as, that they're saying, what I'd love to copy and print and post, on my LinkedIn, but what they're doing, they're saying, I can't wait to go to STEAM Lab. That what they're saying is, this particular teacher, Dr. Ray, is the greatest teacher, you know, Dr. Ray taught me how to do this. Oh, Ms. Mason, let me show you, or Dr. Mason now, but let me show you the game that I created. You see, children from 4K up through 5th grade now, since the middlers have moved to other schools, but, you know, staying for robotics club, the parents, that's the students now, right? I don't think I can talk one and without the other, but I'm wanting to make the case that the students are taking a lot of the information home to their parents. And so and this even extends up into our high school programs, and what the teachers report to me is that the parents say to them, your child will not stop talking about STEAM lab, or it does not matter whether it's biomedical or whatever it is. And so I know for a fact our parents at Rosenwald have been very pleased. And even on the Saturdays, now please hear me, on the Saturdays when we're doing complimentary activities and competitions, I've looked around and, you know, there's a whole classroom full of parents, mother and daddy, there supporting the children. And so that's not direct quotes of what they're saying about it, but to me, that's even a bigger impact and statement of what they're saying, because they're giving up personal time and weekend time to follow us to competitions and to, you know, come in the afternoons and to help with competitions like bridge building and things like that, and bringing those in. And so I think there's such a level of satisfaction and accomplishment because they see that their children are happy about going to school. The children are getting skills that some of the parents are already aware are very needed as they move into upper education and into the workforce. And I could go on and on, but that's just kind of a little snippet, you know, of what we're hearing from our parents, and not just at Rosenwald, but even now I've asked and talked with people across our school district.
It's so exciting just to hear how involved parents are and the sacrifices that they do make, and how the skills that are happening inside of PLTW classrooms are not only impacting students, but it's impacting entire families and communities as a whole. Our panel has been really enriched, so we actually only have time for one more question. So I'm going to kind of try to wrap 2 questions into one. So hopefully you guys will kind of follow me here. Tiffany, I'm going to come to you first on this one, and then I'll let anyone kind of jump off of it. I want to just talk about the growth. If you can briefly just talk about the growth of your program from that first year of implementation, and any moments that you'd love to share that really stood out over the course of that growth.
Yes. So for us, you know, like I mentioned earlier, we had a really good, really robust high school programming, and then also gateway programming. And so with our launch, we started about 10 years ago. And so those students who I got to have in 4th grade have since graduated. And I'll just share, you know, a personal story as an educator, but then also as a mom. So I had my own personal daughter, Sophia, in class in 4th grade, and she is a student with a disability, has, you know, trouble learning, and so the thing with Sophia, though, is she can think outside of the box, and that's just the way that her brain is wired. And so this was an area with Launch that Sophia just excelled in. You know, and I love that the curriculum just lends itself to just, you know, allow our students in any capacity really to just have that good self-esteem. But you know, Soph was the type who would, you know, play on the playground by herself, and that was fine with her. But what was happening, and what I was personally seeing, is through Launch, some of our students who were gifted were struggling because they wanted to just know if they were right. They were not used to you know, the failing forward. They were just used to being right or having more than one right answer. And so they would say to me, hey, is there any way that Sophia can, you know, help us or help me with my project? And I said, well, I don't know, ask Sophia. And so of course that really boosted her self-esteem. And what I love is that, you know, from that story 10 years ago of them connecting, she would then play with them on the playground. So it just opened up just beautiful friendships for Sophia. And to this day, they just graduated. To this day, they are the best of friends. And so, and I know that that would not have happened if it wasn't for Launch being able to just be that launch pad, so to speak, to bridge those friendships. So I am certainly grateful for Launch, not only as, you know, an educator, but also just as a mom as well.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to quickly jump to Caitlin. If you could just share a little bit about the growth of your program and any aha moment. And before Caitlin even starts, I also encourage you guys to share out your stories in the chat and also stick around for the Q&A so that we can come back to some of these questions that we may have not been able to touch during our panel discussion. But I'll be quiet now. Caitlin, over to you.
Sure. So we're kind of the opposite of Tiffany. We had no Project Lead the Way in our district. So we started it with Launch, and we actually started it with 2 modules in each grade level K-5, and then came to find that we were balancing between Project Lead the Way and another science curriculum, and the students, the teachers, everyone was like, why are we not doing Project Lead the Way all the time? It's meeting the standards, it's engaging. Students are having real life learning experiences. So the second year open, we now have 4 modules in each grade level K-5, and then we have a different module for each gateway 6, 7, 8. Then this year, the high school down the road has adopted the engineering path for Project Lead the Way, and hopefully next year after will be biomed. So we are growing it out a little bit differently, but you know, really doing what's best for all of our kids, which is wonderful. And it has built those STEM career possibilities. The community partnerships have been phenomenal over the last 3 years, and just really making it a whole picture for the whole child. One quick story that I'll share is that we had a 4th grader who was kind of a student who struggles to stay on task, you know, make good choices type of thing. Just a little too smart for his own good, right? So Project Lead the Way was really his moment to shine. And he was so engaged through all the modules, but specifically the organism structure and function module. From there, he was able to learn how to use Tinkercad, the program, and build prosthetics. And so he decided that, and out of nowhere, surprised all of us. We were like, wait, what? He said, when I grow up, I need to know how to use Tinkercad and all these things because I want to be a biomedical engineer and I want to build prosthetics for students or for humans and animals. And so that was just like we're reaching all the kids, not right? Like the kids who typically you can't get them to come engage. And there he was, like, ready to take on the world. So that was our best aha moment.
Thank you, ladies, so much, all of you, Cheryl, Caitlin, Kimberly, and Tiffany, for participating in this panel discussion, just highlighting the diversity of impact that happens within Project Lead the Way across the nation. Again, for all of those that are with us, please hang out with us so that you can continue to ask additional questions to all of those on the panels or ourselves that are in the chat. But we'll continue on to really look at one of the best ways to find out about a PLTW classroom, which is to actually visit a PLTW classroom and to see students and teachers in action. I know every single one of those on the panel can attest to this. Since we aren't able to physically take you to a classroom right now, we wanted to provide you with the next best thing, which is a sneak peek into what your classroom could be.
Probably the first feedback I got from our teachers when we rolled it out in one of our summer programs years ago was, wow, this was really fun.
They are so happy every time we're going to start a project that made the class more interested, you know, because when you have all of them engaged, you're going to have an easy day.
Getting the kids to clean up on time is a surprising struggle because they just don't. They don't want to stop. They want to keep going. I think if you are interested in hands-on projects, things that are more engaging. There's no reason to not do this.
The hands-on learning goes right along with what we want to do here at Forest Glen, and it really continues that for teachers. It helps them to see how can I incorporate different subject areas into one and make it very active learning.
Every time we're going to make a project, they get so excited and very involved.
I very much have this, let's break the process down approach. And I like to say, okay, well, here are materials, here's our question. What are we asking here? And what kind of end result do we want? The kids are very capable of doing big, large projects because we're being so specific with what gets brought out each week that they can really have the time to digest it.
Project Lead the Way is going to help them to think beyond, to use their thinking to solve problems, and it's going to help them, to have better outcomes even in other subjects.
I noticed the kids becoming more observant. I noticed them also being filled with a lot more confidence. If we had an entire generation of students that knew that it was okay to try and try again, and that your failures aren't actually failures, they are learning opportunities. We are here to learn, to practice, to then make it better. To be given permission to do that is lovely. The selling point for me is that it is a central hub for a lot of information that is age appropriate, detail appropriate, laid out in a way that's accessible for teachers and students. So when you're thinking about, well, what in the world am I going to teach my students? Well, you have your whole year laid out for you right there. With the core training experience for Project Lead the Way, I liked that you had that permission to try it and fail. And so it's exactly what your students are going to be going through. So it allows you to really empathize with the process there. And you can tell the kids, oh, that's exactly what I did when I was learning.
Every time I see a Project Lead the Way classroom, it reminds me of the first time I ever walked into one and saw students and just knew something was different, something was special was going on. So I'm so glad that you all were able to experience that video as well. We're going to continue on and just thinking about the different ways, as some of our panelists have talked about, how do you get Project Lead the Way into your school? And that they certainly are very active and hands-on classrooms where teachers really guide students to their own discovery and confidence, and just really know that because of these educators want to find the schools in their areas that are implementing PLTW for their students, greater engagement and success. We also have a school locator on our website that you can, and we're going to drop that link in the chat. And you can locate a school that might be near yours and really get a chance to see this in action. You just heard a little bit also from our panelists about how they've seen firsthand that the way that PLTW has transformed the learning and teaching in their schools. But the first step in that transformation process is in creating a strategic plan. And more of that plan is really having a detailed view of the required investments to identify the funding sources that you can use to support your program. And so the investment in PLTW programs may vary, but each program includes investments in 3 categories, and those categories are the participation fees, professional development, and equipment and supplies. The participation fee is an annual fee that covers all of the curriculum access and the software rights for your PLTW program. And to be able to teach one of the courses, a teacher must be trained by PLTW in our core training experience. And then lastly, the curriculum is project-based and very hands-on, so there is equipment and supplies that you'll need for your implementation. So now that you know more about those investment needs, let's talk about some funding opportunities to help you grow your program. Every year, we have a wide variety of PLTW grants available for all of the different programs in our pathways. We have grants for brand new programs as well as program expansion. These PLTW grants are made possible by our partnerships with leading organizations across the country. In 2024, PLTW provided 1,619 grants across the country, totaling $15.6 million awarded. And this year we have more grants available to schools than ever. Please check our grant opportunity webpage to find out more and schedule a meeting with your local PLTW team member. We are ready and truly willing to find out more about your district's vision and to really help you get a grant application in ASAP. Through these grants, PLTW will partner with your school and district to help you throughout your PLTW implementation journey and beyond. So applying for a PLTW grant is easy through our simple application process. It's located inside our mypltw.org. And if you don't already have an account, you can create an account quickly and easily on our website. We award grants on a rolling basis from July 1 to June 30th, so schools may submit applications annually. And PLTW keeps your application on file until June 30th of each year. So we may consider schools for more than one grant opportunity throughout the funding cycle. Our PLTW grant opportunities are amazing, if I say so myself, and especially this year, and we encourage everyone to apply. But in addition to grant funds, there are other federal funding options to help you grow your PLTW programs. And I cannot stress enough, connect with your PLTW director or your team member to really get support and learn more about those grant opportunities that you may see on the site. Now, to understand more about the curriculum, I want you to be sure you know about our evidence papers, one for each grade band, which enable you to dive deeper into the structure of our evidence-based program and learn more about our unique problem-based learning approach. And then review the research supporting the positive impact PLTW has on student achievement. You can download these resources from our website, or the link has been placed in the chat as well, and you can check it out there. And besides PLTW grants, there are several funding opportunities for you to utilize to help break down and compare the various funding options. We have created a funding side-by-side resource that is available on our site. This will help you see what federal funds are available and which ones can be used for which of our 3 investment areas. You're probably also wondering, where do you kind of start? How do you connect with a PLTW team member? All of those great things. So let's start to explore those next steps before we kind of jump into the final portions of our time today. So note that we are happy to support you with all of your next steps. We recommend that you connect with a PLTW team member to discuss any questions that you have. We then hope that you'll visit the PLTW.org website. And on our PLTW launch page, you can use a range of resources like the science standards, crosswalks, module descriptions, and the program overview to help you plan your implementation. And then read the blog stories about how other schools have unlocked student potential with PLTW, or utilize our Q&A time today to ask some of your questions, right? Because you have people live right here too, to get some of that information there as well. And then you'll also be sure to apply for grant funding at mypltw.org and reach out if you need support with any of your applications at all. So now it's time for Q&A. And this really wraps up the presentation portion of our webinar today. Our PLTW team members and panelists are here to answer any questions you might have. You can submit your questions via the chat in Zoom. And for those who are unable to stay for this particular portion of the Q&A, thank you for truly joining us. We also will be launching a poll shortly to help us understand what next steps we can assist you with. And please look out for it on your screen in just a moment. In the coming weeks, you'll also receive an email with a recording of this webinar and additional resources to address any questions that you still may have. And if you'd like to discuss your implementation plan one-on-one, you can reach out to the PLTW Solutions Center. Their contact information will be provided. And they can also get you connected to the correct PLTW team member to support you through anything that you would need. Now, if we have any questions, I'll start off with any questions that may be lingering in the chat.
Hey there, Christy. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I'm Rob, and I'm one of the marketing team here at PLTW. And so I'm not just this voiceless or this faceless voice. I'm helping out with questions so I can share what we have here. Here's one that we often get, and it is, can anyone train to teach PLTW? I've never taught something like computer science or engineering. So this is really open to Christy or any one of our panelists.
Caitlin, I saw that hand go up, so I'm going to go to you first before I answer.
I mean, I would just love to share how we did it. So, and maybe this is answering the right question, but we had our whole staff get trained, Project Lead the Way, all K-5 teachers and special ed teachers and our special forces teachers, just so that we were all having an engineering mindset. And we did that through virtual Project Lead the Way trained us. And then we went ahead and 3 of us took the launch teacher training. So that way we can train our own staff now in-house. And we do that every summer. We get all new staff that will have any play with launch or elementary, and we train them.
Caitlin gives a great story of the absolutely correct answer, which is anyone can be a PLTW launch teacher. Anyone can train. We fully stand behind our training and the support that we provide even after that training. There are countless of stories of teachers. I can personally tell you some. I know the ladies probably on this panel can tell you more of stories of various different teachers, ELA teachers, nurses, school nurses, librarians, pitching in order to take that training to support students and provide this incredible opportunity to those around them. And then Caitlin also spoke about how she went on to receive the lead launch teacher training, which allows you to continue to support those teachers and train teachers inside of your school, which is a great thing to be able to do as your program progresses, and also is a great sustainability measure that you may consider as you're thinking about your year-by-year growth plan of PLTW Launch. All righty. Well,
excellent. Here's another one. Is there specific technology that's needed for the curriculum?
I'll start us off, but if any of the ladies have any question, have anything to add or a story to kind of hang on to it, just let me know. We've really designed the experience so that that you can implement it on a variety of different platforms. So you'll note that it can be on iOS, it can be Android. You have Android enabled Chromebooks that can be utilized for launch. So the compatibility is really there for a variety of different modalities of which you might implement it. We always are here and available and have the resources so that you can check out to see how each of the different modules that we have how they can be supported with the tech that you have. And you can always reach out to the PLTW Solution Center to support you as well if you have any additional questions, and they'll get you connected to the right people in order for you to look at that. We also, when you're coming on during your onboarding, we really support you in making sure that we're setting you up ahead of it, right? And asking you those questions, especially if you're meeting with your PLCW team member as you're preparing, so that we know that you're already set up even before you might even say that yes, right? We want you to make sure you're confident in the tech that you have or the tech that you're going to go and get, so that your students and your teachers are having the most smooth experience.
I have 2 more questions right now, and I'll take them out of order. So one question we have here is, if the panelists can talk a little bit more about sustainability of the program after they get a grant, can you share any experience or tips on that?
I can share. So for us at Tusky Valley, what we have done is we have partnered with our Business Community Association, and because they want to be able to hire a workforce that has these skills, right? That students who can work collaboratively, who can problem solve. And so what they have done is they have partnered with us to continue to help fund the program. So that is something that that we personally take pride in at Tusky Valley. We also allow all of those businesses to be able to come in and take a look at what it is that they're doing what students are doing. And then the other thing is at the end of every year, we have a Project Lead the Way showcase. And our Project Lead the Way showcase, it's a countywide showcase, and it features pre-K through 12th grade. So a lot of showcases throughout the country are just focusing on high school, which is great. But what we do is we actually do a showcase starting with Launch, and all of the grades and all of the different pathways are represented. And so the business community is able to come in and see what it is their investment is doing at the showcase as well.
I can share. So starting out, I started with the inventory that was left for me when I got into this position as STEM coordinator. And so my first year, I used what was on hand. And then, of course, Project Lead the Way and their wonderful grant team got me a grant for the next year, for the next 3 years. And I was able to buy what was needed, go to needed professional development training, pay the annual fee to be a Project Lead the Way school. But what I have learned is the best thing for me, and it's going to be different in every building because I'm the only Project Lead the Way teacher in the building. We offer Project Lead the Way as a special curriculum to our magnet children. So that's their special curriculum outside of our school STEM curriculum. I digress. But what I chose to do was to make sure that starting out, I started with 2 modules. And I got comfortable with those first 2 modules and implementation and, just keeping inventory of supplies that I have. And then that next year, I added another module for a different grade. So now I've slowly built up my inventory, and I'm implementing a module for 1st and 2nd grade, a module for 3rd grade, 4th and 5th grade. So 1st and 2nd shares a module together, and then 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So I'm working with 4 modules now. The consistency in keeping those same modules help from year to year because you're building again that inventory. But at the end of the day, you have to be aggressively seeking funding from outside sources, like Tiffany said. I learned a term this year with Project Lead the Way called braiding your funding. So braiding your funding is like braiding your hair. You're pulling from over here, you're pulling from over there. You have to be actively seeking funds, no matter how small, to help you sustain your program if you really want it. And Project Lead the Way is something that we're going to make sure that we sustain regardless, because it's a wonderful foundation.
Thank you both for sharing those different and very similar ways of which Project Lead the Way has been sustained inside of your school, and how, when it's time and time I hear just from accounts that I work with as well, that once they see the outcomes of Project Lead the Way, the funding finds itself to you sometimes, and also the line item will be made to support students in the growth that they're going to continue. I'll go to you, and then I've got something geared up for us.
Yeah, and it is often a matter of braiding a variety of funding resources to sustain your program. We have another question here. This is from Sandy, and it's looping back to what we had talked about as far as teachers, who can be trained, and what does it take to be a PLTW Launch teacher. The question is, what happens when the trained teacher is absent for a short period of time? Are there any suggestions?
Thanks. I'll reach out to the panel first if anyone has any suggestions or ways in which they've also tackled this as well. I know that this is something that commonly happens.
So for our district, I guess it really depends on how long they're going to be out. So that would be my first question. However, you can train, especially if you are a lead teacher or if you have a lead teacher within your district, that lead teacher could go ahead and train them. I know for me, I'm a master teacher, so I also, work with Project Lead the Way, but we have had a multitude of different people in our trainings. So, and I think Christy had mentioned that earlier. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, a teacher who has a license. Like if they're a sub, they could still be trained. And the lead teacher, if you do have a lead teacher in your district, they can train them. If not, it can be, a master teacher as well. However, my suggestion would be, depending on how long it is, if they're just out like a week or 2 weeks, is there somebody elsewhere who has been trained to be able to come in and work with that teacher to kind of be the lead teacher, and they're overseeing all of it, and that teacher is kind of assisting. But if it's going to be longer than that, I would highly suggest for them to just be trained. Just because just being able to get the background and go through the training is really invaluable. The other thing I'll just say in terms of training is, I personally appreciate the way Project Lead the Way does training. How many times have we received a new curriculum and it's like, okay, here you go, figure it out, right? A new initiative. Where this is the opposite. Project Lead the Way really does invest. And so it's the opposite. You can't have access to the curriculum unless you go through the training. And so for me, I think that is just a really key piece, because then you're able to really see the big picture and be able to implement the curriculum with fidelity. So in terms of, I don't know if I give you an exact answer, my recommendation would be, if it's going to be more than a couple weeks and you don't have another teacher to be able to take the lead, maybe if you're team teaching, then I would train them. That's just my opinion.
And we appreciate that opinion, Tiffany, as it is something, again, that commonly happens. And my little bit of 2 cents is that teachers then, once they complete that training, they walk away with that credential, and they get to hold that, and that's something that they can utilize for their own future development and pathway that they see for themselves. So just a great opportunity and a great suggestion as well, Tiffany. And we looks like we've come up on time, and we love to respect your time. And we wanted to say thank you for joining us today. Thank you again to our panelists for providing the time that you've provided, for sharing your stories with us as well. And again, for all of those that are still hanging out with us, if you do have any questions, if you need to be connected to your PLTW team member, please reach out to our Solution Center. We'll get you connected as soon as we possibly can. And we would love to continue the conversation with you. Again, thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great afternoon.